Yeah, hello Samuel. Samuel Chong, you've made the very hard task of promoting the book in this Chinese market, and also you've met the original author of the prophecy, Michel Desmarquet, right?
Yes.
Would you like to say something as an introduction, something about that, about your adventure with Michel Desmarquet and the book?
Yes. The first time I read a book was in 2014. And because of the content in the postscript, I really wanted to find out what else Michel Desmarquet knew that he didn't write in the book. So I did a lot of research and I took a trip to Vietnam in 2016, just finding him by chance. There was a photo on the internet of his bungalow, and I showed it to the taxi driver after I landed in Phu Quoc Island, Vietnam, and then um, the taxi driver took me to where Michel Desmarquet was living at that time. And then I also visited him again in 2018, just a few months before he passed away.
Okay, and for more story, if you've got another video about that with the full story covered, about have you met Michel Desmarquet. So my first question is about the book, because you've met him to find out something that's not in the book, something. But did he share anything um, that he could share publicly, but he didn't? There's some more information than included in the book that you can share with us. Me?
Yeah, during my second trip, that's the time when he told me that one thing that he wasn't allowed to write in the book. He told me just within 10 minutes after my arrival, after me meeting him. And I took a friend of mine with me to visit him, but at that time my friend was not with me, and he was in his room. And then I was actually alone with Michel Desmarquet. I wasn't taking my mobile phone either. And I wrote an article about it, because I
Yeah.
cannot reveal the information directly, because Michel Desmarquet said that Tao didn't allow him to reveal to anyone except me, and Tao instructed him to tell me not to reveal it to anyone else. But they didn't say that I couldn't write an article giving as many clues as possible so that people can guess or can come up with some kind of a conjecture on what it is about. So that's what I did by writing that article. It's actually the article that I put it on my frequently asked questions down below, and people should focus on question number 4 and number 6, and also the last question. And then people will know something about it. So that's the one thing. And then he also mentioned a few other things that I can reveal publicly. One is about Donald Trump. So the second time I visited him, he asked me, Samuel, what do you think about Donald Trump? You know, it was such a controversial topic at that time. So I didn't know which way he was going. Was he a supporter
Yeah.
of Donald Trump or
Yeah.
someone against him? So I responded back by asking another question back to him, saying that I think he was doing his best, but what do you think about him? And then this is what he told me. He said, I think he would be assassinated. So this is his response. So my take is that he was comparing Donald Trump to the likes of Martin Luther King and Gandhi. So he was trying to do
But what was
something.
it his own opinion, or something that Tao said to him, or Thiaooubians said to him?
I
So
think it's Michel Desmarquet's personal opinion.
personal opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
but
to
remember,
clarify.
Michel Desmarquet, he is a very sharp person. If you meet him, you're gonna know that he has a very mental alertness, and he is not like any other older person, someone who is slow in thinking. He was still very sharp, and he
Okay.
gets right to the point.
Okay, I hope so. I wanted to meet him, but it was too late. But I'm glad you had the chance. So just to clarify, this video will be talking about some topics from the book and from the life of Michel Desmarquet. So this is just for the viewers. So if you haven't read the book, first just read the book, the Thiaoouba prophecy. Even if you don't believe in the plot that the spaceship and journey to another planet and stuff, it's still worth reading. I think you somehow will agree with me that it's still worth reading for everyone. There's a lot of content to open your eyes, to learn how to be a better person, how to about the power of love, about being another better person and living a better life. So I totally recommend to read it first, and then you can get back to this video with talking about some topics, some that weren't included in the book. Yeah. So would you like to add something to the viewers on YouTube?
I mean, I like to say that reading this book is actually the best investment I've ever made in my life. I was an economics major, and I studied how the financial system works after reading a lot of other books on investments. But I think this book actually gives the highest return on my investment, because after spending a few hours of reading this book, it really gave me a lot of information that's extremely valuable for the spiritual growth and also some of the other aspects of life. It also reveals a lot of information about ET technologies that we can really do great things to the world and also help other people.
Yeah, it changed my world too. It changed the way I see the world. I look at materialism, I look at spirituality, and even if you live a normal life, you need to make money, you need to go to work, or you have some your company, etc. You still have a different view on all of that. So in my life, I started to investing money in something else, in just something that would do something good for my family and for other people in the future, instead of just doing just business and before looking of other people. So even for hard businessmen, Wall Street guys, this is still a good read, a good book. All right, so would you like to start from the questions about the author, about the author Michel Desmarquet, or should we start with the book itself?
I mean, either way is fine, whichever you like to go.
Okay, so we started with your meeting Michel. You met him in person, so maybe you can tell. Can we actually call him the author of the book? Is he the author of the Thiaooubians, the ETs are?
Well, I think we can call him the author of the book because he actually was writing his own personal experiences. Even though the ETs, the Thiaooubians downloaded or uploaded a lot of information so that he can receive the information, and I think he's still the author because he put those information that he received in writing.
Yeah, he mentioned somewhere that uh, sometimes he felt that the words of the book were dictated to him because Tao was very strict about his personal opinions, so he couldn't write anything personal, his views or opinions. Just the postscript was the only place he could do that, right?
Yeah, actually, when I was reading the book, I was a few times I was thinking if there would be another better structure of catching people's attention, if he wrote it in a different way. And I was thinking about that question for a long time, because when I was reading the book for the first time in the very beginning until chapter like 10 or 9 or 10, I thought it's just another ET book, ET contactee book. It's only until I read that chapter, Who is Christ, that I really, really decided to really do a lot of additional research on everything that the book talks about. So So I was thinking if there's another way to catch people's attention, but I think right now, I don't know what you think about it.
Yeah, I think the marketing you do and getting people attention, like uh, those clickbait titles on YouTube, there were two Jesuses, or Jesus was from another planet. I think that may be a clickbait, but not really. It's not that you don't have a proof, you don't have that content. So if that works as marketing and we bring more readers, more viewers, then I don't see why not. I think that's actually a great way to market it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the more people know about the book, and the more people that other sources, maybe other books that will open their eyes and just change their life, change the thinking for the better, then all marketing strategies are always good. Even if only 1% of people read the book, or even then the 1% of the readers will do something about that. So just change their life, maybe not just put the book on the shelf and just forget about it, because that happens sometimes as well.
Yeah, my goal is actually
Yeah.
to have 1% of the world population to read the book. 1%. So far we haven't gotten that far yet, but I'm trying my best. I hope that the others can join me too.
Yeah, keep up the good work. So, do you have any plans you'd like to share about the marketing of the book?
You know,
So,
I've been thinking about this because it's only me trying to promote the messages publicly on videos, and I hope that other people can join me, people who speak different languages, and to appear on different podcasts and YouTube shows. And the more people who do it, the better. And I'm actually encouraging people to do it. I was also hoping a major publisher can have the book published in English so that through their distribution channels, it will be more widely read. And also through their foreign rights department, it can be translated into more languages and have the book formally published by established publishers who have that have distribution channels in different countries. So that's actually
yeah,
my wish, my hope, and my dream.
yeah, I was wondering because the book is available as a free ebook. So, theoretically, anyone can download it from any part of the world, including China. So, the book is widely available. And do you think that the paper published book is actually a better option? It actually attracts more readers?
Well, my take is that the people who prefer to read it for free are like separate from the people who prefer to buy it from a library or from a bookstore or borrow it from a library. I mean, the people who are going to get it for free are never going to buy it unless they prefer physical copy. And the people who buy the books from bookstores are going to think this book is more credible than just another ebook that people can download it for free from the internet. And also remember this, in China, in mainland China, years ago, it was already translated into Chinese, like more than 10 or 12 years ago. But no, like very few people knew about it until it was published by a major publisher in China. So it's the distribution channels of the book publishers that help people to get to know the book. And it happened in China, happened in Taiwan, and people actually in Taiwan, like very few people knew about the book before it was published. So it's only when the book is formally published by a major publisher that the YouTubers, the social media began to talk about it. So I think
Okay.
that's a very important point.
It's because it's so surprising because here in Europe, the book is also not so popular, and some science fiction books or some just stories about space wars, etc., are more popular than a free book with actual knowledge. So that's surprising. So maybe your thinking is right that you need a publisher, you need some trust, and people when they pay money for something they also more appreciate it. What they paid for is not for throwing away, so it's actually have value for them.
Yes, one thing I like to add is that when I was meeting with Michel Desmarquet the second time, he was actually strongly against giving the book free of charge to the people
Oh,
because
really?
yeah, he told me that people are going to value the book more if they paid for it, and he was really upset about the free copy existing on the internet. That's
I
just
didn't know that.
right.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all. I thought that that was actually his idea because uh, the first time I've seen the freebie book was probably on Dr. Tom Hauko's website.
Mhm.
So I thought that it was agreed with Michel that it was for free. That was fine.
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know what happened, but he insisted in having the book sold to people.
Right. Yeah, maybe that makes sense. So Michel actually published two more books and had a third one. Started a third one, but he haven't finished it. So the other two books are science fiction or just fiction, just
Novels.
novels.
I would say novels.
Novels. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. So do you think, from marketing point of view, is it good for the trustworthy of his name, Michel Desmarquet, that two from three of his books, so two-thirds, are actually fiction? So what I mean is we are trying to market a book that actually that is about ETs, it's about another planet, about some real knowledge, and this is a true story. But the author has two other books. The most of his writings are fiction. So the thing, he does it make look good for him to know to a writer of fiction books as well.
I mean, Michel Desmarquet has his own free will as well. He is free to do whatever he thinks, and this is what he did. And as long as the first book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, was published as a nonfiction, then he is so right because it was a nonfiction. It is a nonfiction. And for the
Yeah.
other two books, and I think he intentionally wrote them as novels, because he was trying to convey certain messages through the two novels. But the third one, I mean, he had just begun to write the autobiography of himself. I think he wrote about 20 pages or so, and then he passed away. I actually asked his Vietnamese family through his niece to find the manuscript, but she told me that she couldn't find everything, and they threw them away, which is really, really something that's a regret. But I think he did that. I don't know if you read the two books, two novels, and um, they were on Amazon for quite a while. And compared to Thiaoouba Prophecy, like if people purchase if Thiaoouba Prophecy sold 100 copies, and the two other books only sold about one copy or two copies or so.
Hmm.
So that's the ratio.
Okay, so you've mentioned a manuscript, so that's why Michel could just learn computers, just save this as a digital file, and unfortunately yeah, he was computer illiterate, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
He did everything by hand. When I was there, he dictated the messages he was going to send to anyone um, through his niece, Lily. So he sometimes Lily would make typos or some kind of grammatical mistakes or something, and then Michel Desmarquet would correct her. And that's how things went.
Okay.
The first time I met Michel Desmarquet and I purchased some kind of gifts. I was going to give to Lily as a gift. So I wrote it. I thought at that time I didn't know Michel was dictating everything through Lily. So I thought he was receiving my messages directly. So I even asked Michel that if it was appropriate for me to give gifts to Lily. And
That
then
went through Lily.
I didn't know Lily was reading that email. So it's kind of embarrassing for me to do that actually.
Yeah, that was one of his intentions. I don't think you should be embarrassed by that, but that's a funny story.
Yeah.
I admit that. All right, so Back to Michel. So about those two books. So do you think, from in your opinion, was it a good choice for him to write two novels or not? Just from looking from perspective from people who would like to read Thiaoouba Prophecy for the first time. Does it
I
add
mean,
trust to Michel or?
like for the two books, she and I is about abortion, like how the the baby felt when the mother was trying to make struggling decisions whether to have the baby aborted. So she and I is about abortion, and Nature's Revenge is about the explorations in the jungles in Africa and how men should coexist with nature. So both of them provided certain additional information. I think it's helpful for people to read the two books, but the emphasis and the focus would be on Thiaoouba prophecy, because so far Thiaoouba prophecy is a direct message from the ETs.
Yeah, I agree. So when you met Michel, did he tell you what changed in his life that he decided to write another two books? Because initially he told Tao that he is not a writer. He didn't seem to be interested in writing another book or even more books. So what changed?
I think if you read two other books of his two other books, you're gonna know that he is probably not the best writer.
Yeah, I read the postscript of the Thiaoouba Prophecy, so I know.
I know. Yeah, I actually kind of fell into sleep after reading his like in the middle of reading his Nature's Revenge. It's a little bit boring so he is not the best writer, but if you read Thiaoouba Prophecy, you're going to get a lot of valuable information.
so,
That's for sure.
so that was a boring revenge.
Yeah.
All right. So last question about Michel. So do you think did he do a perfect job, or he could do better with the prophecy, with the marketing, with other stuff?
I think given his ability at that time, he was already excelling himself. He was already doing his best, and he did his best in lecturing, giving out lectures publicly through either Michael Meanwell or through Tom Chuckle or through other people. Like I know there's a lady in America called Janet or Jane that arranged him to have certain interviews with some of the radio hosts in the US. But I still cannot find those videos anymore. But I think he was doing his best. I don't think he could have done it much better because at that time, given the fact that he didn't know how to type, he didn't know how to use a computer, and he didn't know anything about the publishing industry. And I think he is really pretty good for whatever he did.
All right. So his mission, the book, the Thiaoouba Prophecy. Do you think that that was a good idea from the perspective of Thiaooubians, from Tao? Because Tao admitted that 2,000 years they sent Jesus to Earth. They had a great plan to, remind people about reincarnation, remind about living after death, and remind about the power of love and all that stuff. But after Jesus went away, went back to Thiaoouba, things changed, and now, 2,000 years later, Tao said the situation in our civilization is even worse than it was before Jesus. So do you think that the other approach, time they wanted to get Michel to visit their planet and to write the book and to send the book to our civilization as a message. Do you think this is a better approach than sending someone from their planet again here?
I mean, I would use the analogy of Enoch and Noah. Remember, if you read the book of Enoch, if you do a lot of research, you're going to know that Enoch was instructed to write a book. And I think Michel also was instructed to write a book. I think there's a parallel.
Yeah, me too. I read the book of Enoch. I think that too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're trying to give us an opportunity, like a time to get ourselves together and to mend our ways, to correct ourselves. And this is a very valuable opportunity and a time frame for us to get ourselves together and to really do everything possible to make the change. And I think they're helping us indirectly, just like giving us direction and try to follow the directions. I mean, we have our own free will and we can choose to follow and choose not to follow. And if we choose to follow, there will be a better world. If we choose not to follow, and there will be consequences. So I would say that the parallel should be really analyzed and focused on.
Okay, but this time at least they are more honest because they actually admitted that Jesus was sent from the planet. They explain all the story because 2000 years ago they just kept it secret. They wanted to Jesus to look like a normal person that just make wonders like this, and he was welcomed as a son of the God. So that later was all distorted, of course. But now they've actually came out and said Jesus was one of ours. So that changed a lot and changed a lot of religious people. How of course from the book we know that religion is not something super good, but it will change the views of many people, so that may be hard for some to accept that Jesus was actually a cosmonaut from another planet rather than the son of the Creator, the Great Spirit. It's about that we are all children of the Great Spirit.
Yes, that's a very good observation because Jesus didn't reveal, or Christ didn't reveal himself as someone from Thiaoouba 2000 years ago, because it's very similar to telling the savages or primitive people about atomic bomb. They wouldn't be able to understand it. They didn't have the ability to understand it. So that's why Christ hid his identity from the people at that time. But nowadays we have a lot of sightings and we have a lot of additional knowledge about space, about different planets and space explorations. So I think we're ready for the disclosure, and so I think this is why they revealed themselves to be involved in the stories in the Bible and declaring themselves to be the messengers and also like sending Jesus and Christ to us. Yeah.
Okay, so you just mentioned about the free will that we have to follow or not follow. So we can either, grow spiritually, develop ourselves personally, or just choose to just go the other way. Just get stupider, get not interested in self improvement and stuff. But do you think there is more than that in our free will, or it's just that? Because before we are born, we get the movie like theater when we can choose our next life. So let's say you are Samuel Chong, you want to live in Los Angeles, and you want to have your family there and stuff. And there is something in your life that you've seen on that movie that may be very hard for you to do. Like, so for example, publishing the book in China or some heart attacks. Some people even live through some tragedies. So if we agree to select that particular life and we are born on Earth, can we just change that later as the life progresses? For example, a tragic event is coming out. It's like a week from now, some tragic will happen, and we just have a deja vu, and we think, okay, that will happen. So, is there anything that we can just cancel that and say, okay, this is too much for me in this life? My free will is to just cancel this right now and do this maybe later on in another life.
Well, I think there are certain fixed events that are hard to change in our lifetime. I'll give you an analogy. Just like when we look at ants walking on the road or and we see obstacles in front of them, but they do not see them because their visions are limited. So we see like there's a river and there are certain stones and preventing them to go straight ahead. We see those, but they don't see that. Similarly, we are living in a 3 or 4-dimensional world, and we are not able to see what's going to happen in the future. But if we really want to change our direction in life, just like the ants changing their directions of walking into certain directions, we can actually prevent from encountering certain obstacles in our lives. And I think if we really focus on that, then we can do that. But if we don't intentionally try to change everything, then we are going to encounter what's set ahead of us.
Right, because I've noticed too that some events just need to happen in our life. Just like no choice of meeting some people. The only difference that we could make, that from my experience and perspective, is that we can choose another path, and we can just our life can just split into branches. But in the end, those branches will just meet in the one exact point when we meet a particular person or a particular event happens, and then we can again, do another branches of our life, take another path. But in the end, when we will just need to follow that what we've established before being born.
Yeah, it's possible that way. From what I read about regressions like hypnosis, they regress into past lives. They also try to regress into the future. Future is changeable. It really depends on the actions or decisions of the person. So I would imagine that if we really want to change what's going to happen to us in the future, then we can really use our subconscious mind or intentionally try to change certain things that we do in lives, and the future can be changed. And certain obstacles, even though it was preset before, they can also like disappear in our future projections.
In the book, Tao said, and also Michel repeated that our higher self will help us if what we're asking for, the help we're asking for, is actually good for us. So if it's beneficial, a higher self will help us to achieve that. So obviously, a higher self, our guardian angel, has the power to see the future, see the future events, and help us to go through them. But my question is why then are there some people that commit suicide? So if the suicide, according to the book, is forbidden and it's a bad decision, it's not beneficial to one's personal growth. So why the higher self couldn't predict some situation in someone's life would be too hard to bear, that the person commits suicide and just quits the life, that could be just worse than skipping that tragic event that actually triggers that depression and suicidal thoughts. So why the higher self couldn't prevent that and just make the life easier for that person to just live and maybe do the homework next time, in the next life, instead of committing suicide? What do you think about that?
I think there are two reasons. One is that the challenges that a person faces are actually due to the decisions that the person made before coming to this lifetime, and also due to the karma or consequences from the past lives. So I would imagine that before I came to this life, I made a conscious decision of accepting the challenges, no matter how difficult they're going to be, and I would take those on. But we forget everything that we forget. Our memories is erased, and I may forget what I decided before I came into this lifetime. So so that's what happens to the people who really couldn't take it anymore. And they can start over again, to continue their journey or spiritual development after committing suicide and then coming to a newer life form. So I think it is important for people to have the knowledge of the meaning of life, which is really um, to learn and to experience the hardships and also to accumulate spiritual lessons. The harsher the environment, the harder the challenges that we face, the more valuable lessons we learn. If people have this kind of knowledge, they will know that suicide is a waste of time, it's not a solution, and they would treasure and to take the challenges more seriously in their lifetime and to respond to the challenges in a more positive way. I think knowledge is the key.
Yeah, I think you are right, but on the other hand, the higher self should know, should predict the suicide and help that person to ease the task, the next task, or maybe for reschedule it for later and the same exact life. And I'm trying to find the logic here in the book because in another chapter, Tao said that the Moses who wanted to help the Israel people to from the to get them out from the Egypt. So he also go through the river of oblivion, also had his memories erased, and Tao said he had the choice to finish his mission or to cancel his mission, to live another life, and he chose to finish his mission. But I'm just wondering if we also have that kind of choice during our life, not only before that. So some parts of the book say that we can change that, and some say that well everything is written down, everything is
Well, yeah, I know
it's
what you mean. Yes, and I know like we have our own free will and everything we do are actually is actually decided by our free will and also predestination together. And remember, there's a key number in the book appearing 3 times, the number 81% or 81. So I would say that we have our own free will and we also have predestination as well. Um, Imagine this, if everything is to be predicted by our higher self, then the world becomes very predictable and there will be no fun, no kind of surprises anymore. So I
yeah,
would say
that's
that
that's what
81%.
I'm trying to understand. If it is it predictable, and if it is, to what kind? What 100 years or more or less, or it isn't predictable, or it's just in some like points of our lives.
Yeah, I would say 81% of the all the things that happen can be predicted, and the other 19%
that's
no.
yeah, but yeah, I like your thinking. I like your thinking. Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about lessons? Some lessons from that we need to, learn something from them to accomplish something in our life that actually require a suffering of another person or another animal, or is it ethical? So for the higher self to actually perform that lesson, to actually uh, give us such kind of challenge. So when an innocent animal has to suffer for someone to learn something, is it actually fair? What do you think about it?
Well, for animals, I think it's also part of our lessons how to coexist with animals. There are certain things that it's just my personal opinion, is that we treat animals well. That's our responsibility. But when we have to make a decision whether we are to survive or the animals are to survive, we have to make a very difficult decision. If we have to make the choice, then we have to really ask the animal whether we can take their lives for our own benefit. If they agree, then we can do that. If they don't agree, then we better not to do it. So this is actually by mutual consent. I mean, if we are living in a desert area and we see like an animal and we have to survive by eating the animal, then I would request to make a request of the animal. Can I sacrifice your life in order to feed me for me to survive? And I think that's a very important like step to follow. And I think if not for sustaining our own life, then we should definitely not kill animals unless they would harm us in a lot of ways. So I
Yeah,
think
in self-defense.
yes.
Yeah, but your example with the desert is a very interesting one because should we ask the animal for giving the sacrifice, or maybe another idea would be to ask our higher self to give us the energy and help us, and actually, letting that animal live would be rewarded by a higher self in the terms of energy and chance to be alive. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point too, is to ask our higher self. And that's actually just for your information. There's an ancient Chinese practice of using the cosmic energy to sustain a person's life. A person, just like the yogis in India, they can actually survive in wild areas for as long as they wish, if they really just try to observe the nutrients and energy from the universe or from the energy field. So actually, theoretically, a person really doesn't need to eat a lot of things in order to survive. And they can actually live in very cold areas, in the mountainous areas in Tibet, the Himalayas.
Well,
And they can just do that kind of energy practice. So eating animal is actually not necessary if people really know how to do that.
yeah, I think that too. I've heard about what you're saying, and also uh, Tao said that they are using cosmic rays to actually create life spontaneously. So if they want to create another human or another animal, I think they use cosmic rays. So the cosmic rays are everywhere. So they're hitting us every day, every time. So if they are powerful enough to create a new life spontaneously, then harnessing them should be more than enough to get all the energy we need, just in theory.
Yes, that's actually it is. It is true for sure.
The book says that our higher self starts a contract with us that for life, that there is a predestined date and time when we are going to die, and that can only be prolonged if there is a possibility, if the higher self agrees after our clinical death to get back to Earth and live for our family, for others, just to help them to get through the life. But what about all other circumstances? So someone dies at that exact moment, and now let's get back to the desert, the example you had. So if that wasn't your time to die, so whenever you would eat the animal or not, you should survive if that wasn't your time, right?
Yeah, I mean, the higher self makes a decision and what's the best for our growth. So I think we can just follow the heart, follow the intuition. Yeah.
So do you think if someone's life is threatened, someone close to us, someone we care about, and we save that someone's life, do we really save it, or is it just that person? There wasn't the time for the person to die, so we wouldn't matter if we were there to save that person or not. The person would still be alive.
I mean, if we feel that the person should be saved, then we would definitely give the hand, lend our hand, and I would say just try to save as many people as possible, especially like during World War II. Like a lot of people saved some of the people who were.
Yeah, of course. I'm just asking if, just theoretically, if we weren't there to save that person, if that person should still be alive, right? Because that wasn't the time for die. It wasn't the time and date.
Everything is about love and compassion, and I think if we help each other, and we are definitely going to make the right decisions. On the other hand, there's another point that is that when a person asked for help, then we should respect the free will of that person requesting for help. Then we should definitely help that person no matter what.
Another example, another question I have is about a person or an animal, a close one who died. and we wanted to save that person or that animal, or the doctors wanted to save them. For example, the doctor did a great surgery, everything went well, and at the end the person dies. So that was the time and date for the person to just pass away. And the question is, should we feel guilt? Should we feel like we didn't do enough, or we couldn't save that person, or just that wasn't our fault? That was just a normal, like, no part of life, and we couldn't do anything. Even the doctors couldn't.
I mean, it's really not our fault because we have no control of the circumstances. And also, we should also realize that there's life after death, and animals also reincarnate into other animals, or part of the astral body of the animals can incorporate into the astral body of a person in the future lifetimes. So I think we should also kind of realize what the Lemurians did when the last king died. They celebrated his death because they knew that he was going to progress on a higher level of planet, continuing his physical experience on a higher category of planet. So I think we should realize that this is a valuable lesson for us to learn, is that life goes on. And if my parents and if my relatives pass away, I would not be extremely sorrowful, but I would realize that that life goes on after they pass away, and then they would have a moment of life review. They would evaluate their own lifetime and to see how they did, and then they would also make a conscious decision what life forms to take for their next lifetimes. And we would, when we pass away, we would normally reunite with the relatives and family members, including our pets or animals that were close to us in the lifetime. And then we would be able to enjoy our time together, different, I would say, universe. It will be more like a spiritual sphere, not a physical sphere. And we would reveal how we got along with each other and how we did to each other, and the moment of happiness will continue after we pass away.
But people who actually already reincarnated in another life, would we meet them after we die, or meet them just in astral world? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know if you know, there's a holographic universe. The book that's called Holographic Universe by Michel Desmarquet. And he's the main thing about the book is that the universe is by all means holographic, which means in a sense, by quantum mechanism, even though a person reincarnates into another life form, the electrons that that person, or some portions, maybe the electrons that person can also coexist at another location in the in astral form or the astral universe. So even though that person is still reincarnated, we can still have the same kind of relationship or kind of interactions with that person in the astral field. So the universe is not like what we see in our world, is actually holographic. So a portion of that person can coexist in different places.
Yeah, I agree. The universe is holographic. I've read about that too, and that makes sense. And what you are saying about coexisting in different places at the same time, something like quantum entanglement or other ideas like this, makes sense. I also hope it's like that, that maybe even during sleep we can visit some relatives in other worlds, or maybe just with the connection we have with the higher self, that some part of us is constantly connected to the higher self and can be forwarded somewhere else in the network. That might also be true. So you've mentioned about joining the astral body of an animal into a human, or the remaining 90% of the astral body being used for a tree or a plant or an animal or a human body, I mean a human astral body. So what happens after we die? The 81% of astral body goes to the higher self and continues the journey on maybe another planet. Maybe we want to have some rest, some chill out after a tough life and just regenerate. And the remaining 19% stays on the planet person or animal died and awaits for being reused by nature. So if the 19% contains the same memory the 81% had, the astral body, can we actually call it a soul or a copy of a soul, or how should we treat it?
I would call them ghosts.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
we
probably
do.
the name. It's famous all about the world. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very interesting, and yeah, we just call them ghosts. I think
Yeah,
that's
but
a
I
good
was
one.
wondering, is it exact copy? Can we like theoretically create a human copy in another body and just use the 90% to create a copy of that human that already reincarnated on another planet? Like just do two astral bodies from one.
No, not really. I don't think so, because human body is extremely complex. I think it takes great efforts to do that. And if it takes 24 hours for the Thiaooubians to do that, then imagine how long it would take us to do that. Maybe
Yeah,
millions of years. So,
yeah, that was a theory. But another question: do you think that the 90% is actually still related to the 81% that already went away? So, for example, if we see a ghost of our beloved ones or animals, or they have still the same memories they had, because that's until they are reused by nature, they are still the same astral body, the same electrons. So if they see us, they can feel like they are still on Earth, like they may be confused. I don't know what they think. What do you think about that? Do they have feelings? Do they have memories? How do they look at us?
From what I know about ghosts and my conversations with people who can see ghosts, I think the 19% electrons are peripheral, not important components of the entire astral body, because the ghosts normally can only remember certain things, like not the spiritual experiences. I think the electrons that have spiritual lessons exist are the 81% of
Okay, so they are unique and they are just not copied to the 19%, because I thought that the 19% is just an exact copy, just a backup. And what you're saying is that more is just a part of the astral body, that not a complete astral body.
Right. It's just a part of the astral body, and the 19% electrons are not that important compared to the 81% of electrons, which absorb all the spiritual lessons and the feelings and experiences. The 81% electrons that go back to the higher self is the most important portion of the astral body.
But do you think the ghosts have feelings, or can show some signs of intelligence, or even evolve, maybe learn something?
I think they definitely have feelings, and they um, I also like the when I listen to there's a person called also Michael. He can see ghosts, and he actually came to my office, which is where I'm sitting right now, and he had a
Mm-hmm.
conversation with a ghost in my office, and from the conversation I kind of sense that the ghost retains a certain memory, just like maybe like a teenager child, or maybe like a 5 or 6 year old child. So they have certain ability or mentality or intelligence, but not as like mature or developed as an adult.
Do you think they still have connection to their astral body, the original one? So that when we see a ghost of someone we know and we talk to them, or try to help them understand what's going on, um, is there any connection between the ghost and the actual astral body?
I would say if they want to reunite, they can do that. I actually know some Chinese psychics or people who can actually send the ghosts away and to be recycled and to reunite with their original astral body. And she has the ability to see ghosts and also to communicate with them in a very, very unique language, which I don't know what it is. And yes, I think yes.
So from the experience of those psychics and your friends who can see ghosts, uh, those do ghosts feel like lost, like confused, or how do they feel when they speak with them?
Yeah, they're definitely confused and they don't know what's really going on in our world. They use their own perceptions when they were alive and to make determinations and to ask questions about it. For example, when the ghost when Michael like he communicates with the ghost here in my office and the ghost really didn't understand why I'm here and she didn't understand that I'm actually renting this location after her boss passed away or left the office. So she didn't have the understanding of new tenants coming into the office. So this is
Okay,
why, like I say, they don't have as much intelligence as when they were alive.
all right. So uh, when those psychics, they can help them, right? So
Yeah.
just understand that and just stop worrying, or they will just haunt the place. I don't know. I haven't had that such experience, but maybe you can tell something interesting about this topic because for me, I'm very curious about that.
Yes, the psychics can help them to understand the situation, and this is why a lot of misunderstandings can be resolved. So, so I think sometimes if ghosts or paranormal events trouble someone, they probably want to seek for help from psychics who can communicate with spiritual beings and to resolve the misunderstandings. I think that's helpful and is kind of important too.
Okay, so do you think that the 90% of the electrons can remain here on Earth while the 81% already reincarnated into another life? So that astral body started another life, but those electrons, the 90%, are still waiting for being reused for a new human or new animal.
I think when a person reincarnates, this 19% electrons are going to join the new body of that person. Or they can also be recycled by nature. So there are two choices, whether to be recycled by nature or be rejoined with the new body of the reincarnated body
Of the same person.
of the same person. Yes.
Okay, what about being translated into another person? So, for example, those electrons are close to another human being that being born on Earth, and there were some stories about people having memories of some other people's, like not from that wouldn't be possible to be their previous lives. So most probably, like some memories of that 90% astral body was incorporated into their new memories. Like the memory erasing progress was not idea exactly like the river of oblivion. So the memories should go erased, but not always completely erased.
Yes, you raise a very interesting point. That's an accurate point too. The 19% of the electrons can also go into a different body, and sometimes they do that. So this is why in Catholic Church they do some kind of practice to I don't know what I call it again, the English word I forgot that, but to just like what Jesus did, expelling the ghost or the elect.
Ah, yeah,
Yeah,
exorcism.
yeah,
You
that's
mean,
right.
yeah. Yeah, so do you think exorcism actually related to, explain the memories, erasing what's left
Yeah.
from that another person? Okay, that sounds interesting. Okay, so just to sum it up, the topic of the ghost, we as living beings, as in physical bodies, we shouldn't be worried about, shouldn't be afraid of ghosts, right? They can't harm us
They cannot, most of the time, they cannot hurt us unless
most of the time.
most of the time, unless they actually like attacked or maybe come into us. You know, when I speak to Michael, the person who can see ghosts, he says to me like more than 99% of the time, the ghosts are really friendly, or they're just they just don't have the knowledge about their existence or how things go in the world, and why they left the world. And they're not they don't have evil intentions more than 99% of the time. Occasionally, only like a small percentage that they're kind of like evil or devils, and but those can be handled appropriately. Like I mean, if you really don't like ghosts, you can just use a lighter and two, because fire can kind of dispel the electrons and make them go away. Just use lighter or fire to do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to know. But what harm can they do? What are the possibilities of an evil ghost that actually wants to haunt a place, and what can he do?
I mean, when they hunt a place, it's just they're trying to get back to the place. Most of the time they just have this kind of strong belief that they should live there, not other people. So they were trying to annoy the new residents of the houses and to make them leave. And I think this can be explained to the ghosts that they're no longer in their physical forms, and they should be recycled and to go with the light and to go into where they should be. And a lot of psychics can help them to do it.
Okay, why is that the memory of the remaining 19% is not wiped out after the human dies just immediately? Why does it? Why is it remained there? Is it some kind of a backup or just a mechanism of nature? What do you think about that?
And I think this is just how things work, and to mix them mix all the electrons and to make things more interesting, to have more uncertainties and to have more new things. Because if everything is so fixed, if everything is so certain, then everything will be so rigid and predictable, and there will be no fun in life. And I think the creator purposely made this way, to have uncertainties and to have accidents, and so that we can have more interesting lives.
Okay, what do you think about the topic of the bodies? Tao said that humans have 9 bodies, animals have only three bodies. So in the Thiaoouba prophecy or Jehovah prophecy, that wasn't fully explained because not all of the 9 bodies were actually described. So Tao said that humans are different and are unique because they have a divine spark. So if the astral body is not a pure spirit, is actually not the soul that the form of we think of like a pure spirit soul, it's electrons. So is one of the other bodies a pure spirit, like the great spirit, the creator, have his form, or are we purely 100% electronic?
You know, for this, I don't have sufficient information to answer this. But I read a book of Barbara Brennan, who was a
The
former,
journey.
not the attorney, but the former NASA scientist who wrote a book, Hands of Light. And she describes
Okay.
the 9 different um, like auric bodies that she saw when she was writing the book, and she actually drew the pictures with colors of uh, of them, and I think it may have something to do with the other bodies that we have, um, and I think they're made of electrons or different forces, just like one of the forces that Tao and her residents used to build the Doko. So I think I think we are probably um, like not as developed as in order to know more information about it.
Yeah, because the book doesn't clarify this, and I've also read some posts on some forums, and some people actually find out what the other bodies are, but no one could actually describe a body because what about if we know the name of the body, that doesn't give us any information about what it does. So what if this is knowledge to know the names of 9 bodies if we don't know if they are from the pure spirit, from electrons, or from other forces, like you said. But in the book says that the creator, the Great Spirit, actually put an infinite, tiny part of himself, and he himself is made from a pure spirit. He's not electronic, so that implies that we have that pure spirit part somewhere inside us. But later down in the book, it's explained that our astral body is actually pure electrons. So I'm not sure about that. Maybe we'll know that in the future from some other source. Maybe Thiaooubians will clarify that subject later.
One interesting fact that I found about this book is that this book superficially mentions a lot of different topics, and when the book doesn't really explain in details, it sometimes means that there are answers that we can find in our world. For example, when the book talks about the Thiaooubians intervening and preventing Germany from being the first country to develop the atomic bomb, and a friend of mine who lives in Australia did a lot of research and found that it was Heisenberg, the German scientist Heisenberg, who made a careless, quote unquote, careless mistake that and then thought that the atomic bomb couldn't be developed unless they spent a lot of money and for a long time. And then he wrote a report and sent it to Hitler. So that's actually caused Germany not able to develop the atomic bomb earlier than the US. So I think a lot of things can be found if we really do a lot of research. And I hope that we can find more answers about the other bodies of a human being.
Yeah, because this is a very interesting topic. This is something about us, about what are we made from, So,
yeah.
Actually, I've got some questions about the God himself, the Great Spirit, because he's he's a pure spirit, whatever it is, actually, because we don't know that form. We can just imagine how it is. Like I imagine it like a mist or something, a mist in the black nowhere, and he couldn't actually materialize. That's why he created material world to experience the life through our bodies, through humans. So do you think, is he jealous about something that we have and he couldn't have, or he could have that, but he decided purposely to remain at the side as pure spirit, and just the experience through our bodies, through humans, was all he needed to be complete, to be happy? What do you think?
I think he is omnipotent. He can do everything that he wants to do or it wants to do. And he's just using our physical bodies as a tool to experience whatever feelings that we experience in life or experiences in life. I think we are just part of him, the creator. We are kind of like a tool or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Are we just a tool, or just? Yeah,
Well,
that's a good question.
yeah, we are a tool for us to experience because we are actually part of him as well. So it's more like we're helping each other and we are coexisting with each other, and it's the creator who decided to experience through us, through the physical lives of ours. So I think I think this is the case.
Yeah, that's another good question. Is he actually able to divide to another god, another person, or what he did was just a walk around, just to all of that to be seen as different person, but we are just one. So at the end, when we are just spiritually evolve enough to rejoin the spirit, we just merge to one and just be one God in the ether? Or would it be like sitting in a room with a friend and just telling jokes? God is sitting in the main chair and we are sitting just on the other side of the table and just discussing, making jokes, having fun, and just like being different beings inside his house. How do you think? How do you imagine that? What do you think about this?
I had a dream before. It's about the cycles. Like when we are on category 1 planet, we progress to level 2, category 2, category 9, and then we join the ether. And then we become part of God, the creator, the source. And then the source decides, or maybe even part of the source decides to leave the source again and to take on other like journeys, either to go into a category 1 planet and then category 2. So it's like a cycle, like constantly joining the great ether and then departing the great ether and then to join other life forms and accumulating new experiences, and the cycle goes on. And this is what I had in my dream. And I
Yeah, that's
think
an interesting point of view. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, please continue.
yeah. So I think this is what happens when we reach a category 9 level, and then when we join the great ether, and then we can also decide to depart from the great ether and to experience new lives. And I think have done that in the past.
Yeah, that's one of the options. I also was wondering about the option that when we join the ether, the God, we also start experiencing what he is experiencing. So all the other lives, all the humans, we start to do that, and if we are bored of something, because there are a lot of planets, like endless number of planets, and a lot of lives we can live, then we can just go back and go back to the physical form and just reincarnate somewhere else.
Yeah. And in my dream, I'm a person who likes to take shortcuts. I always try to do things the fastest way. So I just
Yeah, who doesn't?
I mean, some people, there's a Chinese person like who asked me this, actually a Chinese pastor at the church that I go to, the Mandarin Baptist Church of Los Angeles. He says if people know about reincarnation, then why like they would reincarnate to another life form and lifetime, then there is absolutely no need for the person to be diligent and to make great efforts in his lifetime anymore because he's going to be reincarnated anyway. Then I countered him. I mean, I'm not that kind of person. If I know I'm going to be reincarnated, I'm going to get most out of it in this lifetime and be the best person spiritually and have the most spiritual growth and lessons and to advance at a much faster pace. But the pastor has says some people don't necessarily think that way, so they may just relax and do whatever they want to do.
What you just said just get me thinking. If we get this our life showed in the movie theater before we are born, if we can see all the lessons we're just about to enjoy. So if we know the future, actually what our life will look like, why do we even reincarnate into that? Is that because in the astral life, in the astral world, when we see the movie, we don't feel those emotions, we don't feel the consequences of those decisions like they really happened? Is like more like watching a movie rather than living it, or is there something else to it? Because I'm getting an impression that the astral life could be just maybe blunt, maybe just a lack of emotions. Maybe we need to reincarnate to physical body to have a physical brain. That those chemistry gives us all the feelings that are just amplified. What do you think about it?
I mean, I would imagine that when we preview our lifetime, we don't get to feel how we would feel in the future. And we just see like a movie, and then we decide whether to take it and experience it or not to take it.
And sorry for interruption, but in that moment in the astral body, a human feels very good. So we feel actually like after alcohol or something like that, we feel great, and then we make the decision. That doesn't sound like something hard to do. Yeah, why not? And then when we reincarnate, when we are born, we say, what the hell? Are we crazy? What was I thinking in that moment? That was just, I wasn't sober, you know. That wasn't clear thinking.
In the astral world, when we are in astral forms, everything is so blissful, everything is so perfect and enjoyable.
Yeah, we are just high.
Yes, and then we would feel bored. And what about experiencing jealousy? What about experiencing hatred? What about experiencing something the opposite what we have been feeling like blissful feeling? What about trying some kind of experiences of hardships? We would sometimes want to make ourselves more interesting. Just like if someone is a billionaire and then he is bored of his life and he would be able to think about what if I just pretend to be like a beggar on the street and to make it more interesting. I mean, I think this is probably we feel in the astral world. We want to experience more, and sometimes it's more due. It could be due to karma as well, because we did certain wrongful things to other people. Then we should face the consequences.
You pay the debt.
Yeah, pay the debt. Yes.
Yeah, that's why I'm
And do you
also
know why
thinking.
Michel Desmarquet went down? Came down to Category 1 planet from Category 7. Do you know why?
From Category 7, wasn't he on Category 2? And
He
let's
was
add something.
the highest level. The highest level he was on was Category 7.
Michel Desmarquet?
Michel Desmarquet. That's when he was the queen of that planet.
I haven't heard about that.
Yeah,
That him being on Category 7. No, something new. So yeah, tell me more about it.
Yeah, so this video is for the readers of the book. So he actually made a mistake. He broke one of the 10 commandments. Because from what I heard from the people who had interactions with him when he was in Australia, was that
Sorry, could you repeat that one? Couldn't hear that.
From what I heard from the people who had interactions with him in Australia, was that he was shown his past like 79 lifetimes while on Thiaoouba, but he wasn't shown his past 80th lifetime until he came back. And then when he was shown his past, the 80th of his past life, he learned the reason why he came to Earth. And that's because he actually broke one of the 10 commandments in the Bible.
So what actually did he do? Which one commandment?
The first one.
The first one.
Okay.
Okay, because I know I've heard something that the last life was shown to him a couple months before his death.
I don't know exactly when, but they explained to him why he came here.
Okay. So do you know the full story?
It's only hearsay. I heard from other people,
Okay.
not directly from him.
Okay, but that's a surprise, yeah.
I wonder why I came here.
I think we are all wondering why we came here. Maybe the next time. Why on Earth I'm on Earth again? Why? And the time we are in the astral world when we feel blissful, like you said, and I don't think that's a good shape of mind to make conscious decisions. Actually, so when you're happy, then everything seems so easy, you know. But when you actually when you actually face the life, face some hard situation, something truly to accomplish, then you start wondering, why did you do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, that makes me thinking about Thiaooubians, deities. They are also always happy. So Tao and others, they always happy. I don't think they can understand our suffering. So they see, that's just, you know, earthlings. They need to learn the lesson. That's normal. The system works fine. But when they would actually hear our feedback, they couldn't like put themselves into our situation because they haven't suffered that much for a long, long time. So I don't know if they can compare the level of what we actually go through comparing to what they do. So the ideas how to help us are based on their feelings, not our. That's my understanding. That's why they also sometimes make mistakes. Like um, sometimes they predict only for 100 years what will happen in the future, and then it turns out that 2,000 years later it's completely different story, or that the Jews actually survived to this day, and they just thought like, in 100 years they won't survive, but let's help them a bit, you know. So sometimes I get this impression they make decisions based on that they feel great, they feel high, and just let's do that. Yeah, that's okay.
You know,
Yeah.
interesting thing that you mentioned about the Jewish people. You know, I always want to learn from the Jewish people and to see how they are, but I never got a chance to really go into their communities. And even though I'm in Los Angeles, so that's probably going to be my next project, is to mingle with the Jewish communities here in Los Angeles and to really have a conversation with them. And a lot of people tell me this book is going to be very controversial among the Jewish population, the Jewish people.
But
But
is it?
one of my goals is to spread the messages to the Jewish people. I mean, Jesus didn't even. I mean, Christ tried it and failed, and they still don't believe in Christ and being.
Well, the book could be controversial, but to all people but Jews, because the Jews are the chosen nation, and we are just normal people from level one. They are higher level, and I'm wondering if they are still on level two, or if new Jews that are being born are just level one bodies and astral bodies. I don't know. But anyway, they are shown that the very long history, Thiaooubians wanted to help them and help them to live good on this earth that they actually landed accidentally from the Hebra planet. So that was a big accident, and it's the consequences are still felt today.
Yeah, Michel Desmarquet told me that Jewish people, the Hebrews, were originally from category 3 planet.
Category three, not two.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, that's not really important. Maybe that was three. Yeah, that doesn't matter. What matters is there was a higher level planet
high level, yes.
than ours. So uh, they actually shouldn't be there, and that's why the bad things happen to them, because that's how it
Yeah.
works. When you go to higher level planet, then you die after 9 days. When you go to lower level planet, then the bad things happen, like bad luck, so
I
call it.
mean, you know, one of my goals is to spread the messages of the book so that everyone knows about it, so that they don't discriminate against the Jewish people, and to coexist and more harmoniously with the Jewish people. And I really hope that we do that and not to cause a lot of harm to them. And it's really my goal too.
Yeah, the thing is a harm to them. I think they also can benefit a lot and get to know their history actually, and the reason why Jesus came to Earth. It was for them
Yeah,
mostly. It was for everyone, but mostly for them to just continue the journey
yeah.
of the Jews on this planet.
Mhm.
All right, I've got so many questions there, but it's already long time. Maybe we could do that another time, another round of questions if you want.
Yes.
So if you want to watch more interviews with Samuel Chong, then the links will be in the description. Also the website of Samuel, my website, from Thiaoouba.com as well, where I write articles with my point of view, my understanding, and maybe some of my complaints even. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope if we do this next time, I think we did good, like
Yes.
for the first
Yes.
time.
For the first time, yes. Yeah, I think those questions are excellent questions, and I really hope that people can join us and join our discussion. If you have any questions regarding the book or anything else, please feel free to ask us, and both Michael and I can help to respond to your concerns.
Yeah, and we are just normal humans, so we can be wrong. We can just, this is our understanding. This is what we think makes sense. But if you think there's another logic or something that is incorrect, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the email or contact us in any way. And who knows? Maybe we'll do some other chapters, other videos in the future with more interesting people. I hope our community will grow and the message will spread in the world. Hope for the better.
Yes, yes. Join us. Great. I'll
Hey,
stop.
thank you for watching. The next
Thank
time,
you.
see you.
See you.